Okay, so there are good sequels and bad sequels. Now, as a general rule, a good sequel takes ideas, themes, and characters from the first film and then develops them into a bigger story than the first one, whilst remaining linked to but not bound by the first one. The genre might also be tweaked slightly. A bad sequel generally reheats the first film or doesn't bring anything new to the table. Now, A Quiet Place Part 2 Quiet Harder is technically a good sequel. It's doing everything I've just described and has amazing performances, keeps the same characters, develops the world, themes, tweaks the genre slightly so it's not reheated leftovers, adds new characters that make sense within the narrative, but it just didn't quite click with me. Look, the first A Quiet Place was razor focused with barely a frame that didn't somehow serve the narrative. Within the first few minutes we understood all we needed to understand and were ready to go along with this family as they tried to survive in a world where the slightest noise risked bringing a terrifying, unstoppable monster that they had no hope of fighting, let alone beating. I saw it in a cinema and anyone who even tried to eat a single piece of popcorn was immediately death-glared into going without. But that focus, it just isn't there in this film. Instead of one story, we have three. Pretty cool, but ultimately unnecessary flashback scenes showing day one of the alien invasion, which suspiciously generated a lot of great shots for the trailers. And there's just too much talking. Not like Matrix sequels levels of dialogue, but for a film that's supposed to be about silence at all costs, it's distracting and fairly generic. Also, in this world, why would you speak at all? Why wouldn't you carry a notepad and paper at all times? But anyway, literally 30 seconds after the end of the first film, a family is forced to leave their now destroyed farm to find somewhere else to eke out an existence, only to discover that the sound monsters aren't the only threat out there. With only their wits, a shotgun, the ability to communicate in sign language, and a sonic weapon with the ability to instantly render the terrifying unstoppable creatures utterly and completely harmless and easily picked off by said shotgun. Yeah, that's kind of an issue with the film and why this film splits its focus. Said sonic super weapon is quickly removed and sent off on its own quest to help a Frank Sinatra song save the world. Trust me, it makes sense in context. Along with future superstar Millicent Simmons and current should be bigger than they really are star Cillian Murphy. In an excellent addition to this world, but their quest lacks a lot of tension because they got into tons of scrapes, but, you know, I think I figured out my issue. This film is basically Aliens.
Get away from her, you bitch!
To the first film's Alien.
Good lord, it's coming up right behind you.
Where the first film in the franchise is a pretty straight up horror film, the second is an action film with horror elements, and that change in tone made the film seem slightly baggy to me, which a 97-minute film shouldn't be, especially one that works on so many levels. Like I keep saying, all the acting was amazing. There were some really nice touches. One of the family is wounded and the other is a week old, but there's a soundproof room, which is airtight, so you can't stay in it for very long, so you can't use it very often. Brilliant, except they keep using it. And there's such a thing as diminishing returns, especially when one of the film's plots involves two of the film's characters just hanging around because they can't go anywhere, and the sonic weapon is off with the Fellowship of the Cochlear Implant. I mean, this film doesn't do anything wrong per se, but it just feels kind of safe. A pointless flashback is a great way to open a film and establish this film's world and the rules within for the people who missed the first one but want to catch this one, but it could have been removed completely with only a small tweak further down the road. And I'm also fairly convinced that this film opens up a few small discrepancies with the first one, but I'm not CinemaSins and they work in context, so I'm fairly happy to let it go, let it go. Look, the scary bits were still scary, the action bits were mostly exciting, half the cast deserved to win something, but they won't because award shows hate horror films for some reason. It felt a bit baggy in the middle, a bit safe. Perhaps the focus was slightly too diluted, but then again, I was always an Alien fan over Aliens, so take my opinion with a grain of salt if your Alien opinion is different and therefore wrong. So I think you should see this film, but what did you guys think? And do you prefer Alien or Aliens? Comment below, let me know. I'm Daniel, it's been Dunking. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe.